This situation keeps getting crazier for the Toronto Maple Leafs as we have a wild update surrounding Yanni Hakanpaa and his future in Toronto. We're going to break down the report, discuss what his future is with the team, and what this means going forward for the Toronto Maple Leafs in this offseason. So stay tuned for all that in this episode. But before we do, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. It's free and would mean the world to Darius and myself. And about 70% of you who are watching aren't subscribed. So hit that button if you enjoy daily Leafs content. Again, thank you guys for your continued support. But Darius, we have a lot to get into today, and this is the interesting case of Yanni Hakanpaa that it's kind of turned into now. You can see that's the headline of this article, the curious case of Maple Leafs and Yanni Hakanpaa. Now, it's almost been a month since the Leafs initially signed Yanni Hakanpaa to a 2-year, $3 million contract. You can see here that several hockey insiders, of course, reported this signing. Even the soon-to-be defunct, which is now defunct, Cap Friendly has Hakanpaa on the Leafs roster. However, there are concerns now emerging regarding the validity of this signing. And this was back on July 9th, Darius, when people first started saying, what's going on with this signing? It is now July 26th, and he is still yet to sign and is yet to be a Toronto Maple Leafs. And more reports have come out revealing his future, which we'll get into in a second. But I just want to hear your thoughts on this and how, at this point, it seems like the chances of Yanni Hakanpaa being a Toronto Maple Leaf are bleak, even though a new report has come out revealing that he did pass what seems to be some sort of medical, physical, something of that nature, which we'll get into now in a second.
Yeah, we're going to get into it in a second, all the details and all that stuff. But it's kind of funny. It's a weird case this offseason. It's been almost a month. We were live on stream when everyone announced, all the insiders announced that he had signed with the Toronto Maple Leafs, $1.5 million for the next 2 years, right? And we were like, great, this is a great depth signing, fantastic. And then a couple days go by, the Leafs still haven't announced it. They were pretty late on a lot of signings, but they hadn't announced it. They still haven't announced it, right? At this point, it's been almost a month to the day, or we're approaching that, right? And now some reports, like you mentioned, have come out stating that he passed the physical in terms of his knee, which means he could probably play on his knee, even though, there's some stuff going on with that, but the Leafs, doctors deemed that it was okay. But there's some other reports now, and there's not too much validity to it, that may suggest that his physical conditioning, not just his knee, might not be there. And maybe that's why the Leafs haven't signed him. So that's very interesting. That's brand new news, and we're going to get into it later. But I thought that was very interesting that it's not even his knee. It could be something else that's holding the Leafs up. And they might have to make some other moves and pivot here quickly because it's been a month since free agency. There's hardly any options left. So they got to make a decision. Are they going with this guy or not?
Yeah, we discussed it in yesterday's video. One of those options being Gustav Lindstrom if it doesn't go through. You see this here, this Hakanpaa knee situation could be worse than people think. And this is when, if you rewind back, when Steve Simmons came out and said there was a chance that he never plays in the NHL again, and we were all coming for Steve Simmons' throat here and coming at his head. But guess what? It's been a month and nothing has come of it. He still has yet to sign an official deal with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they basically said they asked the Leafs doctors. The doctors said they cleared him to be signed. We'll find out in the fall whether he can play again, and now it is July 26th, and it's very interesting. And ultimately, it'll be curious to see what happens with his situation. But let's just dive right into the new report now, Darius. And this one's pretty big here. As you can see this right here. And it's interesting. So it says speculation surrounding defenseman Yanni Hakanpaa signing with the Maple Leafs following a knee injury. Reports suggest doubts on his fitness, with concerns raised by hockey insiders, including Mark Masters. And you just mentioned that. So it seems like he cleared the knee physical, but the other physical regarding his actual physical health and his conditioning and him being ready and adequate to play on an NHL team next season is ultimately in question. And this new update adds more concern and more fuel to the fire surrounding the impact that he could have, and let alone the impact he could have, his ability to sign with any NHL team.
Yeah, he may never play again. That was the whole storyline from the beginning, right? But I think it's interesting. I don't want to speculate too much based on his physical fitness, but I would assume it has something to do with the knee, right? That maybe he hasn't been able to work out and all that stuff. Or maybe it is just about the knee, right? Maybe it is absolutely okay. The knee can go, right? He can play again, but how good is this player going to be? How good is the knee going to hold up throughout the course of the season? So maybe it's not, his actual physical fitness per se, but it could be having to do with the knee, even though he's deemed healthy enough to play, right? So I think they're just waiting around. And like, some insiders, like you said, have questions about it, right? Because we just saw last year with Klingberg, the same type of thing happen, right? So why would would you want to put yourself through that again if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs? So they're holding off on the signing. I'm sure they're going to do their due diligence and make sure that they can, sign this guy and that he's going to play if they sign him. Otherwise, they won't sign him. But I just think it's weird that it's going on this long and they haven't made a decision to pivot yet, right? I think at this point of the year, you would, maybe hold on to this for 2 weeks and then you go, okay, it's not going to work out. Let's go find another option, right? They haven't done that. It's been a month. So clearly there's something here. Maybe they're really close and they just want to see a couple more things, right? And to have that kind of peace of mind to sign the player. But I think this entire situation is really weird. It's going on way too long. And the fact that they're questioning his physical fitness now, it could have to do with the knee, who knows, right? But the fact that that's come into question now, that's pretty shocking.
Yeah, and you can this article from a few weeks ago basically is saying everything that we're discussing now, and the fact that it hasn't changed is kind of scary. You can see here the uncertainty surrounding Hakanpaa's health casts a shadow long term over his signing. If the Leafs are taking their time with this and making sure he's fully healthy before they commit to the signing, then that's the right play, and that's probably what they're doing now. If the knee pass, they're just going to make sure he can get into physical shape before committing those 2 years, not just 1 year. If he's already signed and the team isn't announcing it because they don't want to provide an update on his health at the same time, did the Maple Leafs step into a world of trouble? And again, you look at his stats here, he's not a guy who's going to put up tons of points at all, but he's a huge presence. He can play in the playoffs. He has experience there. He played with the Stars last season. When we were streaming and they signed this deal, we've considered this one of the best signings that Trilliving made of the offseason, given the value at 1.5 AAV over 2 years. And the fact that they still haven't done it is super sad for Leafs fans. And this new report, it's almost like a good thing and a bad thing. It seems the knee is fine, but if they're still not convinced that he's going to be able to play, then we're stepping into a whole nother world of trouble. And that's why reports are coming out surrounding other players like you saw yesterday, like Gustav Lindstrom, who obviously much different, 7 years younger. But if the Leafs aren't going to be able to sign Hakanpaa, then expect more of these rumors to rumble and escalate surrounding these other defensemen.
Yeah, and speculation is going to go crazy, right? Because at this point, even like we're talking about in this video here, this doesn't clear the water at all, right? Like we still have no idea what's going to happen here. And if you're talking about the player himself and what he can bring to the lineup, if he's healthy enough to play, I thought this was a great signing. 1.5 for a defenseman who might be your seventh defenseman or might not be, right? He could play a bunch of games in the regular season. The last time he played was in March, so he didn't play in the playoffs, right? That's a little concerning, and obviously why they haven't signed him yet. But if he can get into the lineup and can be effective and still play, and the knee's not bothering him that much or doesn't hinder his play at all, it's still a very effective player. He's physical. This is a great playoff player. He is, right? And he has that experience playing for the Dallas Stars, going on deep playoff runs. So I would love this player if he's healthy enough to play, but that's the question, right? I don't want to commit this money to this player if he won't be able to play, and especially if he won't be able to play both years if you're signing him to a 2-year contract, right? So it's a weird situation. It really is. It's going on way too long for what I think is acceptable. The Leafs should probably figure this out sooner rather than later, but I guess they must be running tests behind the scenes and just seeing what he can do, because I'm sure that injury that kept him out since March has something to do with his physical fitness, right? If you can't work out and you can't, get on the ice or anything like that, if that knee is bothering you and you're trying to heal it. So I think that's probably playing into all of this as well.
Yeah, we're going to hopefully find some sort of resolution over the coming weeks with not just Yanni Hakanpaa, but the rest of the Leafs roster, as it still has Brett Trilliving still has some work to do regarding that and on that front. But let us know in the comments your thoughts are on this, and do you want to see Yanni Hakanpaa on the Toronto Maple Leafs roster to start the year? See you soon.